Welcome today to another edition of Voice of the Veterans Plug Talk. I'm your host, Rocco Lacey, United States Marine Corps veteran, 1st Reconnaissance Battalion. To my left here, I have my co-host also today, Bob Matthews of United States Air Force.
Close.
What was it?
Maxwell.
Maxwell! Let's start it over.
No, that was great. I love that. All right, start over.
Let's start over. I don't know why I would think it was Matthews. Okay, I know everybody else now. To my right, got Joaquin Perry Edwards, United States Coast Guard, United States Army. He's done a little bit of some everything, rescue swimmer. Give me something else. What did you do?
I've been in the teams for about 4 years.
Teams, okay.
Stationed overseas, border duty,
All right, and then
stuff.
all right, thank you. And then to his right, we have Mr. Dan Cooper, United States Navy Submariner, one of those guys. Hey guys, welcome to today.
Welcome.
Today's topic, we're going to talk about veterans homelessness. Veterans homelessness. I got a few stats and things here I was just looking at here. It said that on a single night in January 2019, there was 37,085 veterans who were experiencing homelessness. 22,740 veterans were sheltered. With that being said, I'm going to just stop right there. Two things. I'm going to start with you, Bob, first. Why is that?
Because they don't have the direction. There's a lot of things out there to help vets, but they're on paper or they're on a computer or something. They generally don't know where to go or who to talk to or what to say. And a lot of them are embarrassed. I mean, when you're out there and you're homeless,
Right.
you feel like you are all alone and there's no one there for you.
Wow.
So I don't agree with those stats. I think it's a heck of a lot more than those.
I agree.
Right there,
I tend
yeah.
to agree. Mr. Cooper, Dan, how you doing today, man?
I'm well, and yourself. Thanks
All
for
right.
asking.
What's your take on that? Why do you think veterans are experiencing homelessness?
Well, there's a lot of different entities that play into that. For instance, it could be obviously one of the most prominent issues might be financial stability. I agree with what was said earlier about a lot of veterans might have a stigma about coming forward and telling, asking for help because we're so used to being functional.
Being functional, okay. I like that. I like that being said. Joaquin, what is your take on that?
Well, first of all, good morning. And it's a multitude of things. You can have an accident. You can have unforeseen events. I spoke to a vet several months ago who told me his wife got sick, and the medical bills got so high he couldn't afford to pay them.
Wow.
So it's either pay for the medical bills or let your spouse get worse. Well, he paid for the medical bills, and unfortunately, she died anyway. So now he's sitting in the back of his car in the parking lot because he didn't have any money. It's like Dan said, financial has a lot to do with it, and people just don't realize how quickly you can go from 100 to 0.
Yeah, and with that being said, I guess we all can agree here that basically it's two things: lack of affordable housing, and number two, economic hardship. That's what seems like we're hearing, guys, on that. With that also being said, let's move a little bit forward here. I'm gonna put you all on blast. All four of us sitting here have been homeless before. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
So what I would like to do, starting with Dan, when you were homeless, how did that happen? Tell me, give us a little bit something about that. And I'm asking this so that our audience can relate, and when we have future guests on the show, they'll feel more comfortable about speaking about their scenario. I think we need to lead by example.
Copy that. What put me in that situation, it started out with fiscal issues. That put me in a position where I was actually employed, and I went from employment to short-term disability. Then it eventually turned into long-term disability. At that point, obviously with savings, if you don't have anything coming into the nest there, the eggs are gone. So eventually at some point my finances were depleted. I couldn't afford to pay my bills anymore, and I wound up just out on the street.
All right.
For me, fortunately enough, I didn't have my children with me, so it was just me. I had to literally break down and overcome my own demons as far as opening up and asking for help. Again, you know, for a veteran, and it's just my opinion, I believe that we are so used to being self-sufficient that it makes it very hard to ask for help, especially in one of those, that particular scenario.
Right.
But when I did reach out for help, I was actually, the VA, they did give me the resources. And when I got to US Vets, I utilized what was there. There was a lot of things going on I didn't particularly care for. However, I utilized what was there and I stayed focused. And a lot of times, you know, going through just all those different scenarios with all that extra weight on your shoulders will easily distract you.
Right.
So I had the luxury of having a good foundation of people around me to motivate and keep me pushing forward. And that's where I'm at now. So, you know, for me, it's definitely something that's needed. The resources, how to go about getting things accomplished, and at the same time to remind the vet, sometimes it's just not your fault.
Right, with that being said, thank you. Bob, chime in on that. Tell us about your scenario. What got you in that position?
Mine was unique, just like everybody's is unique. And I don't think there's any two that are the same.
Right.
They might look the same, but there's always those underlying factors.
Okay.
Mine, I guess my income dried up. The VA had me listed as deceased 4 times.
Wow.
And yeah,
Wow.
I'm pinching myself every day. But, so the money just went away. And so got evicted, unfortunately, and now I gotta live with that stigma and try to get rid of that. So we were bouncing around, my son and I, different places, our car, a couple times, or a few nights we were in hotels, by the grace of God and help from some other vets.
Right.
Yeah, which was awesome. But it's, you know, it's been a year and a half maybe, so it's still kind of fresh. It still hurts.
Yeah,
You know,
of course.
because I went from having a direction to like, what do I do now? You know, and then that really bothers me. And I did get some help from people reaching out, but I wasn't looking for a hand out, I was looking for a hand up. And that makes it even harder because of the things I did in the past where I was in the public eye and I was doing things, accomplishing things, publishing a magazine, speaking on diabetes, things like this. But now with Voice of the Vet, I'm putting everything that I went through, and then you guys are going through, we're putting that all in it to make it a place where people can relate, they can understand what's going on. And to this day, I'm still fighting, but I'm blessed that we are in a house, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, very, very, very blessed. But it's uphill.
Yes.
It's still uphill.
Of course.
And I'm trying to get with the COVID thing now, that's really helping a lot. Yeah, but we're gonna get there. And I'm staying optimistic and keeping the faith. That's the main thing for me.
Hold that COVID point in a minute. Joaquin, you want to tell us a little about how you got in your situation?
Well, I was working as a Teamster, and oddly enough, I had an apartment, but an opportunity came up for me to be a part of something that was supposedly, quote unquote, supposed to be a legitimate situation that I was supposed to be in. And when I got into that situation and things worked out, like you said, there's a lot of underlying factors, Bob, when you look at that. And you get caught up in something, and when you get caught up in something like that, and all of a sudden you find out about the underlying factors, sometimes it's like a riptide, it just pulls you down.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you go from, okay, this is what we want to do, to, okay, I gotta go to the shelter. And then, the first thing about it is you really don't think it's gonna happen. And then
Right.
then you sit thinking, okay, what do I gotta do? And then you sit thinking, okay, I gotta go through this process. Then the mental anxiety starts, the mental stress. And then you come to grips with what you have to do after you console somebody or somebody who's talking to you, tell you it's gonna be okay, do this, and we'll work through it, it'll be okay. Then you console yourself and you go ahead and make the effort to get down there into the CRC. And once you get placed, like you said, now you still have to fight to go up because everybody who knew you before you were homeless, first of all, they can't believe you're homeless. Second of all, now they can't help you. Third, well, I don't know what to tell you, but keep your head up, okay? But I mean, you know, I'm looking for something like, give me a ride. Okay, ask me if I need a ride. Ask me, can I help you with your luggage? Do you need somebody to talk to? It's, I wish I could help you, man, but you know, oh, look, dinner's on the table, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And you find yourself by yourself. So I ended up in US Vets, got hooked up with a couple of core people, ran into Mr. Cooper here, started talking. And when we talked, we didn't dump our problems on each other. We just talked about things outside of US Vets to keep yourself outside of the US Vets, keep yourself positive. Before you know it, you go your own way and you start getting up. And now, went through CRC and went through US Vets and went through another organization and got housing. So now I wake up and I don't put my foot on the floor and look at 3 or 4 other guys. I put my foot on the floor and look at a wall, walk out and get something to eat and breakfast. You thank the Most High for that, but you still want to keep going. Because eventually I want to get on my own and I want to have my own stuff. And eventually you hope that these resources don't run out or they get cut. So you want to put yourself in a position where you don't have to worry about that. But it's a blessing to walk up and have a roof over here, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
You know, that's interesting. We all share that. And real quick, I'll sum up my scenario. And I think mine is kind of typical with a lot of people. I'm just going to be bold enough here to say it today. I was in 2 bad relationships with the other persuasion. And, you know, sometimes we let what we think maybe love rule over our, how do you say, our good senses. And a couple of times what I found myself doing, what I found a lot of vets doing, even in other areas outside of relationships, you know, it's amazing that we've been guys who've been like battle tested and what have you. But I found out you got a lot of vets who have big hearts.
Oh, yeah.
We've given our last to people. As a matter of fact, you know, they always say that self-preservation is the first law of nature, right? But have you noticed sometimes when you have a big heart, you give more of yourself to where you may even materially hurt yourself. So being such, I was in a couple of relationships where, and these scenarios were, even these young ladies had children that weren't mine. And I was doing everything to try to maintain a household financially. I was making pretty good. I was such like Joaquin, I was a member of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, making pretty good money. All of a sudden, you get in a relationship and then 3 or 4 extra miles who aren't yours come in, things can dwindle pretty fast. I'm making sure trying to keep roof over our heads and other things start falling. And then through the stress of it all, maybe those people are not, how do I say, very receptacle of your goodness. And then we part ways. Now all of a sudden we part ways, all my sources exhausted, financial sources exhausted, and believe it or not, there were a few nights that I went to work on the show floor doing physical labor, 14-hour days, and I was sleeping on a bench at the local hotel next door out front a couple of nights. And then from there, going down to the CRCC like you're talking about, and I ended up staying in the Salvation Army Veterans Program, which was a relief. I didn't get a lot of help out of it, but I did get a roof over my head and a hot shower, and, you know, wash clothes. And then in my situation, it just took a matter of me, okay, once all that got out of the way, I was able to go back to work and focus on self and take resources and end up, you know, getting my own. Then it happened a second time. So I had to start putting together the problem was me.
Oh, wow.
Okay, choices that we make.
Okay.
That's what I mean when I say the problem was me, choices that we make. And just like Joaquin, I went to another scenario where there was supposed to be a housing scenario that was for veterans. We were supposed to be hired on as staffing. Then when we got over there, we found out that was a ripoff. So now here's the thing that I want to bring up next in reference to that. We got in that situation at the other house that was supposed to be housing veterans. They put us on as staff. Come to find out it was bogus. They were taking money from us. Okay, and then we found out that next they sold the home right out from under us. And here's the thing, we go down to the resource service center, and you know what they tell us? Unless I have an eviction notice in my hand, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing that the people who are supposed to be taking care of veterans told us, there's nothing we can do until you have an official eviction in your hand. So we go back, we had to ride that out, wait for those resources to be posted on the door.
Yeah.
And now, can you imagine the anxiety we're going through.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of
Waiting to
stress.
do that, and then we go back to the resource with the eviction. Now they want to help you, so you really can't. I can't come and tell you, hey, I'm on the way out the door, but I actually have to literally be on the street before you help me.
I've experienced that one also, even with trying to obtain HUD VASH at one point. The term that was used was called chronicity. And basically what they're saying is you have to be a screw up on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So you have to have actual, either a consistent time frame of being homeless, or you have to have 2 or 3 different scenarios that cause you to be homeless in a certain amount, in a certain time frame, say a year or so. And that's just ridiculous. And I actually thought the same thing. Like, wait a minute. So you're telling me putting forth the effort to come and say, hey, this is my situation. It's inevitable, and I need help. And you tell me, well, I can't help you until you physically on the street.
Yeah, but with that being said, there was a possibility if they assisted that you could have saved the scenario you were in.
Absolutely.
They actually wanted you out on the street
Yeah.
before they would do anything.
Like we don't feel bad enough already.
Exactly.
You hit the, I was, we all were looking up at the bottom, and that's ridiculous. It's hard to sit here now and talk.
Understanding how you want to tell a person who's got a chronic pattern of being homeless to give him a house. Because if you stay to the chronicity of what you're talking about, he's gonna be homeless again.
Yeah.
Whereas the person who doesn't want to be homeless has got to watch him walk by and get one, and you got to be on the street before they even look at you.
Yeah.
Okay, with that being said, now we've all taken the oath when we went into service to uphold the standards of the Constitution and serve our country. Now, along with us doing that, there were some benefits that was promised to us that we probably didn't even know a lot about at the time when we did. But now, years later, after being discharged honorably and starting to do some research, do you know that as far as homelessness is concerned, there were some things that as veterans that served, that we were actually rated. But what has happened, our veteran population has gotten so big that the Veterans Administration has resourced, or have sourced out, they have sourced out some of these programs. But what they're doing with these programs when they source it out, nobody is holding these programs accountable to making sure they're following what the criteria guidelines saying. They'll tell you, oh, well, your credit score has to be like this before we can help you get into VA housing. Or blah, 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 this, that, and the other. You have to do this and do that. Come to find out, that is never what the federal government said. They said they serve, they rate.
Yeah.
Okay? So, here's my thing. Let's say you were discharged. You come out. You get back in general civilian population and you make great money. Then you go try to get a house and so your credit's not good enough. But let's say you're making 50 bucks an hour, 45 bucks an hour. You know you can pay for a home. They're telling you your credit isn't good enough.
Right.
Did the government tell them that our credit was supposed to be a certain standard for us to receive that rating? No, they didn't. Now, because I can go back to my great uncles and grandfather's time when they got out, they were able to go right there and get what they needed.
Right to it.
But what I'm starting to see a pattern of, and this still stays on the topic of homelessness, is that when these companies who they're resourcing out, U.S. Vets, Salvation Army, DAB, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they're making criteria on top of other criteria that don't even exist that make our plight to get the resources we need, whether it be financially, whether it be roof, you get what I'm saying? Whatever. They're making it so impossible. It's like you almost have to be a Congressional Medal of Honor person in their mindset before they even want to help you.
And then they'll still give you a hard time.
And they still give you a hard time. So with that being said, guys, I don't see the problem ending anytime soon, but what does need to happen, there needs to be a coalition or there needs to be a review board of these other organizations who the U.S. government has put these billions of dollars out to utilize. And so with
That's
that,
our timer.
that's our timer. And our show is done. This is Voice of the Veterans, Plug Talk. Peace. See you next week. Good. I didn't know we had. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's okay.